here we go. The first thing we need to do is put our compass rose on the map. Do you know what that is? North, south, east, west, right? So let's put it up here at the top. Draw your arrows. We have to know which way is up and down, north and south, east and west. Do you know the trick to remember?
Never eat soggy waffles.
Yeah, there we go. Never eat soggy waffles or sour watermelon, or what'd you say?
Never eat shredded wheat.
Shredded wheat? Ew. Okay, so we will always do this with any map that we ever get because we need to know where's north, south, east, and west. Okay, so that's pretty simple. Okay, next thing we're gonna do is label what we didn't do too hot on the other day from our sketch map of the world, right? So we're gonna go ahead and label everything, all the continents and the oceans, okay, to start with. So I'm gonna zoom in. You should have your pencil or a black colored pencil or something, okay? Just so that we know where we're looking. Where do we live?
North America.
North America. Well, yes, but talking continents here. What is this one?
South America.
Yep. All right, we have what continent? Europe.
Get this next one.
Let's go this way. What is it? Asia. China is not a continent.
I call
Nice try.
That's Africa.
What is it, Josiah?
Africa.
Africa.
Is it Africa? Sorry.
No, don't ever say that. Africa is not a country. It never has been a country. It never will be a country. Africa is a continent. Please do not tell Jimmy Kimmel that Africa is a country because it is not. Africa is a continent. Okay? Always Africa is a continent, not a country. So many people think it is a country. It is not a country. There are like 40 countries inside of Africa. Africa is a continent.
That's like saying
Okay.
America is a state.
I know. Okay, and the last two, Australia.
What about Canada?
Australia, and then I had to draw mine in down here because it wasn't on here. Antarctica. Okay.
Say Canada.
Everybody loves Canada.
Do you have them labeled? Okay, let's go oceans. Let's go oceans. We're going to start up here. This is the Arctic Ocean.
Isn't there a Southern Ocean?
Yeah, but we're not going to label it.
Okay.
What's the one to the east of the U.S.?
Atlantic.
The Atlantic, yes, it's very big. We're going to draw it very big.
Okay. Whose Atlantic named after the
Okay. What's this one?
Indian.
The Indian Ocean.
Okay, I'm ready.
And the last big one? Pacific. Okay, but here's the trick. We have to write it on both sides of our paper because if our paper is actually curved like a globe, the Pacific really just runs in between the U.S. and China, right? But we're going to write it on both sides of our paper, okay, so that you know it's all connected, okay? So over on the left side,
Why people always said
It's Japan.
when I was in like other classes, they always said specific and not Pacific.
No, always Pacific Ocean.
Did it! Oh my god!
And over here too.
People always said specific. Pacific.
Okay.
Someone said JoJo. I heard it. Like 6.
That's what we have so far.
We have at least 20.
Yeah. My 8 is whenever someone says JoJo.
All right, the next thing we're going to do is talk about latitude and longitude. Latitude is which way?
I mean, well, north to south.
No.
It goes up.
Mm-mm. East and west. Latitude,
Longitude is long.
yes. Latitude, flatitude. Okay, latitude, flatitude. Longitude is long ways, okay? So if you think about it, when I say longitude, my mouth is going long, okay? When I say flatitude, my mouth is going sideways. Flatitude, okay?
About the, like, measurements of it.
What are you talking about? Because those are both different. You need to grab a red right now. Grab your red.
Grab a red.
Grab your red.
I thought you said orange, not red.
And I said red too.
She said red, orange,
Yeah, I
yellow,
guess.
green, brown, black.
Okay, first thing we're going to draw is the equator. So it is 0 degrees. Which way does the equator run?
Oh, east to west.
East-west. Okay, east-west. This line is going to run through South America and Africa and Indonesia. Okay, so we are going to draw this line across this way.
Can I get a ruler?
Yes, you can get a ruler.
My OCD is killing me. There's
Oh,
rulers
actually,
right
yeah, there's a ruler right there. Hurry, people. We don't have all day.
Person was gonna say my OCD or my
Yeah.
anxiety.
There's a bunch over there.
Well, yeah, there's a bunch.
Yeah, there's a bunch right there.
I know there's gonna be one person who's gonna freak out.
Wait, isn't...
We're labeling this the equator over here. It is 0 degrees. This is the equator. Okay?
Like somebody's not their
It's like if you had scoliosis.
Okay, we're also drawing the prime meridian. The prime meridian is going to go through London and France and Africa.
So
Okay?
you mean through Europe and Africa? Wait, with a red?
Yes, still red.
that line. It's actually really
Just you like my line?
Okay.
Oh, I hate you.
Also 0 degrees. This is called what?
The primary.
The prime meridian. Thank you, Josiah.
You're welcome. Oh shoot, hopefully I don't get invited to anything.
Prime what?
Meridian. Make sure you label these lines, okay? Prime meridian and the equator. So this means they're at 0 degrees.
Mine's not. Mine's at like -2.
It's okay. What? Yeah, I'll just tell you. MERIDIAN. All right, this is important because it tells us which hemispheres are where. Okay, so north of the equator is what hemisphere?
The north.
The northern hemisphere. Let's label it.
Wow.
the more you know.
The northern hemisphere. Everything to the south of the equator is what?
Southern.
Wow, crazy, right?
Wow.
Southern hemisphere.
We'll say south hemisphere. Just
Jesse, you always do that. Why do you
Northern and southern. Make sure you get it.
like how red everything is.
So we live in what hemisphere?
North.
The northern
South,
hemisphere, right?
East, I mean,
Green.
Try again.
left, pineapple.
Okay. Now from the prime meridian, this also breaks up the world into halves. We have how do I want to do
How many
this?
halves is the world broken up into?
Exactly.
This side is what?
The east.
The eastern hemisphere.
The green.
The green.
Everything to the left or to the west is,
The west.
yeah, crazy, western hemisphere.
Wow. The more you know.
Dun, 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 dun.
Who are you? Oh, no, now
I thought I heard a bang on the door. Somebody banged.
Hello.
All right, Andrew, you have some catching up to
I
do.
like this kid.
Okay. So which hemispheres do we live in again?
we live in green pineapple.
Western and northern hemisphere, right?
We live in the northwest hemisphers.
Northern and the western hemisphere.
Northwest
Okay.
hemisphere.
Where do people in Australia live?
Eastern hemisphere.
Eastern and
South.
southern, right?
So they're close.
Okay. Good, you have that. We also need to label the tropics. Do you know why the tropics are important? The dotted lines that you always see on maps?
Yeah, this is nice.
Tropic of Cancer and Tropic of
I'm trying to remember.
Do you
but I
remember?
can't.
Capricorn. Okay? So there's two dotted lines. I'm going to explain why they're important in a second, okay? But with our red, hey, there's a lot of chatting going on. I need you to not, okay? Because we have a lot of things to do on this map, okay? So we're going to label the tropics. We're going to go with our red color pencil, and we're going to like do a dotted line across, okay? So the Tropic of Cancer is the one to the north. It's going to hit the bottom, like, peninsula of Mexico, go all the way through the top, or to the northern part of Africa, through India, through China, and across, okay? So it's about right here.
It's a dotted line.
Yes, just dot it. Thanks for the sound effects.
It sounds like when you do air. Tuba sound like
I
this.
don't know why I want to see it.
Yeah, I have it on me.
It kind of makes me cringe. I don't know why. Same way when I see a bunch of holes.
I drink so much water.
That's not very straight, but I tried.
Wait, so now the world is broken up into thirds.
Well, it's about to be.
Well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
We're gonna do the other one too. The one to the south
It's a water bottle.
is gonna go through South America. I'll explain it in a second. I'll explain what these lines are. Goes through Madagascar and through Australia.
I like how you can remember all this.
How do you remember all this?
What?
All this stuff.
I teach it, so I know it.
I remember it too.
Well, you're
Lines. Let's go ahead and label those over on the right-hand side. The top one is the Tropic of Cancer. Do you know what degrees it is?
10?
No.
5.
23,
23.5 degrees north.
Jesse was the closest. No, I was the closest.
You
I
say.
said 20.
Okay. The one to the south is what? Capricorn.
Those are zodiac signs, I think.
You're 5 away. I'm 2 away.
What's the degrees here?
I don't know.
Anyone? Yeah, it's the opposite. 23.5
Negative.
degrees. Not negative, it's just south.
Well, south is the opposite direction of north, so it's negative.
Okay, so let me teach you really quick why this is so important, okay? So if you have a hard time remembering which one is north and which one is south, I always learn it as alphabetical. So Cancer, it comes before Capricorn in the alphabet. So Cancer is north, Capricorn is south. But another way to remember all of these big important lines, Coach Tidwell taught me this cool way to remember it. So you have your Arctic Circle, like this is in relation to your body, okay? So the Arctic Circle would be like your head. Santa Claus lives in the North Pole, so if I were to wear a Santa Claus hat, I would put it on my head, right? North Pole would be our head, okay? The Tropic of Cancer is like our shoulders, okay? It's easy to remember that because if you were to get like sun cancer or something from the sun, it would happen on your shoulders because your shoulders get a lot of sun, right? The next line would be the equator. That's like the belt around your pants, okay, around your waist. It's about halfway, right? The equator is in the middle of the world, so that's like the belt that goes around your belt loop, okay? Your knees is the Tropic of Capricorn because you have kneecaps, right? Capricorn, kneecaps. Yeah. And then the South Pole would be your feet, also really cold. You would wear like snow boots, right? Okay. So you see, hopefully that will help you remember which one comes first, Cancer, Equator, Capricorn. Or you can just remember Cancer and Capricorn by alphabetical. That's how I did it for a long time. Okay? So,
Red is an aggressive color.
let me grab my globe. It's important for you to know.
Huh?
That's why fast food restaurants have the color red.
Hey, listen up. I'm teaching. You need to know this.
It's red.
This will be on your test.
Wait, I want to hold.
No, I got it. I have to hold this and show you. Okay. So, here's a globe. Right? On almost every map, you will see the dotted lines of the tropics of Cancer and Capricorn. Okay? So we know that we live in the northern hemisphere, right? We know that we also have seasons, right? So in the summer, the earth is tilted towards the sun. Our half of the earth is tilted towards the sun, right? That's why it's hot, okay? Yeah, because we're closer to the sun, right?
Yes.
So that means the southern hemisphere is experiencing what season?
Winter.
Winter, right? Because the bottom half of the world down here is away from the sun, okay? So it's colder down there while we are hotter, okay? So when it's flipped and we are in winter, they're in summer because
So
the sun is facing them, okay? What?
So while we think of Christmas being a Winter Wonderland, they think summer.
I am glad that you said that. So when I studied abroad, one of my really good friends is from Australia. And his birthday is in January. My birthday is in August, and we both have summer birthdays. Why?
Oh,
Because
wow.
it's the equator.
Whoa,
And the
mind
tilt of-
blown, right? So his birthday's in January, which
that kinda
is
confused
summer,
me for a second.
right? Because Australia, that means the sun, they are facing towards the sun. When it's winter for us, it's summer for them.
Basically,
So
January, summer.
Santa Claus in Australia is always pictured in swim trunks and flip-flops because it's always hot there. Whereas for us, he's always in like snow boots and bundled up, right? Because it's cold for us. Isn't that crazy?
Wait, is that literally how the
literally what
Santa
they
Claus
think?
dress?
Yeah.
Like,
He has like big white beard, but like he's always in like swim trunks, like surfing and stuff.
so what do they
Am I
have
crazy?
during
I need
winter?
to ask.
I don't know.
My friend's Australian.
I'm not sure.
Friend,
Okay, so
if it's like that.
we know the difference in hemispheres and seasons, okay? The tropics are important because the sun only gets directly overhead as far north as 23.5 degrees north, okay? So that dotted line that you drew north of the equator, that's as far as the sun gets directly above, okay? So that means that that's as far north as it goes, okay? So when the sun is directly overhead on that 23.5 degrees north, that's like our longest day of light, right? That usually happens in what, like June or something? That's like the solstice, our summer solstice, okay? So that's the longest day of daylight. That also means in places. Have you ever like heard of like in Alaska or Greenland or Iceland or really far parts of Russia, how in the summertime it doesn't get really dark there, like they don't experience night because it doesn't get as dark because the earth is tilted towards the sun, so the sun never truly sets. My cousin went to Iceland this summer, and she posted like videos on Instagram of like a time-lapse video like through the night, and it was like 1 a.m. and it looked like it was like 7 o'clock in the morning here because the sun never truly sets, okay? Now on the flip side of that, when the southern hemisphere has the sun and we are in winter, that means those parts that are really far north, they don't ever see the sun. It never gets really bright. They never see the sun for like months at a time, okay? It's all about the tilt of the earth and where it is in relation to the sun, okay? So that's how we get our seasons. Does that make sense? I look like I'm blowing some of your minds. What's your question?
My mind into the January thing.
Oh, so does that mean the equator stays like sets at the same time?
Yes, so it has,
Right.
so they don't experience as much difference in daylight as we do. You know how like in the winter, how it gets dark really early for us?
Yes.
And in the summer, we have really long days of light. So the equator stays pretty consistent the whole time. Crazy, right?
The person listening to this recording is probably confused.
Well, I know, but I can explain it later. Okay, questions about the tilt of the earth? That's how we get to our seasons, okay? All the while rotating around the sun, right? That's how we get our years.
Nothing but Coach Ray.
Okay, what?
If you were an 8th grade science teacher, you would have just covered a whole unit. Just saying.
Huh.
In 8th grade, they literally took
They
it over
took like
as well.
5 weeks to do
That's
that.
what it looks like in 5 minutes.
Okay.
Okay.
The moon.
Any questions on the tilt
Nothing for seasons.
and how we get
February
seasons? Okay, cool.
How was it?
Okay, next thing we are gonna do is climate. Oh, before we do this, let's go over to our side over here and put in our labels. So red is going to be latitude and longitude. So for our key over here, go ahead and write latitude. Do it pretty small, latitude, longitude lines. Before we put up our red.
Oh, this is a key.
Yeah, we're making our key over here, okay?
I'm lost.
How are you lost? You're making a key. I want you to make sure that you know what colors. Okay,
Good job, Anthony.
so actually the next thing we're gonna do is gonna be a mixture of red, orange, and yellow. Okay, we're gonna do climate regions. So I'm gonna red.
Red, orange, yellow.
Where's my orange? There it is.
Wait, I already put my red away.
Orange,
Oh,
yellow.
it's a garbage.
I know I am.
This is going to be our climate regions.
My new nickname is Piece of Garbage by Jesse Morris.
I've called you that so many times in the past. You're just now making your mix.
Somebody called me, you're a piece of garbage.
Okay,
I call everybody that. I even call objects that. When my sousaphone case doesn't work.
climate regions, climate regions. So I want you to take a look at this map.
Ooh.
Whoa. I know. Check it out.
Wow. It's a pretty cool map.
All right. So look at this map that's up on the screen on the right side. So all of those different colors, that's really just talking about different climate regions. So we get different climate regions based on how close we are to the equator or how far away we are to the equator. Why would that matter? Based on
Oh, I got it.
Riley started first.
Because it's like where the sun like hits, so like parts where it like hits direct is hotter than the other parts.
Yeah, exactly. So what we were just talking about with the tilt of the earth, the farther you are away from the equator, the colder you're going to be, right? Think about our poles. That's as far as you can get from the equator, right? North Pole, South Pole. Frozen, right? Nobody lives there because it's so cold. But at the equator, what is it like on the equator?
It's the warmest.
It's hot. That's where a lot of our rainforests are. Our tropical climates are, okay? Because it's hot and sticky and muggy because that's the climate there, okay? So
Why Texas is hot?
what we're going to do is we're going to start with those tropical regions, okay? Hey, there's a lot of chatter going on. I've already told you once. We have a bunch to do, okay? I'm trying to get through as much as we can. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is keep our red. We're going to shade in the areas. If you look at the map on the right, everywhere that you see red and orange, those are tropical climates, okay? Notice where those are. Equator, right? Yes, I want you to shade in, but I don't want it to be very hard because we're going to go back over later and we'll have more things to label, okay? So we're going to shade those places. So notice where it is, Central America and a lot of South America, a lot in Africa, and then all of Indonesia, those islands right there, and part of Southeast Asia and India. Okay, so that's where we are. That's where we're going. Okay, I'm going to, how do I shade?
You don't.
I do.
Highlighter mode.
I think this is highlighter mode actually. Okay, let's see my map. Let's see how this works.
Is this gonna be on Canvas?
No, like you're doing this with me, okay? So all through here.
That might take a while.
It doesn't have to be perfect.
Yes. This is shading. This is the definition of shading.
Yes, this is the definition of shading. It goes almost down to those tropics down there. Okay? Boom, shaded. Next area.
Wait, do we shade like all of that or just the part that you shaded?
Just the part that I shaded. Because we're just doing the tropics right now. Okay?
That part that like, you like left out.
Don't do it yet. Okay, over in Africa, we are going all the way across
Isn't
here.
that where the Congo is?
Yes.
Wait, so like you left that white out on purpose?
Yes, I did. Because those are other climates. So right now, the red is the only thing. So we are only shading the tropical climates. Okay? So things that are left to blank right now
No. I mean, everybody.
are other climate types.
Actually, oh, no wonder why Madagascar is called.
Yeah. Okay. And then
Wait.
over here,
Australia.
we have the southern part of India,
Oh, yeah.
Southeast Asia,
I think I messed up on the tropics of Cancer.
and all of these islands.
Oh, God.
Uh-oh.
Yes,
Becoming a 3-year-old
Indonesia.
At this moment, don't judge me. I'm scribbling out of the lines.
Dun, dun, dun.
And the northern part of Australia.
How do you scribble out of the lines?
Just go rant.
It finished with the tropic regions, right? We shaded in your red zones, right? So if we're looking at this big map up here, that was everything that was red and orange, okay? Remember how we talked about closer to the equator, it is more tropical climates, right? Wet, rainforest, humid, right? And we decided that it was like that because that's the part of the world that is closest to the equator, right? Because of the way that the earth tilts and everything, okay? So what we're going to do now is we're going to grab our orange. So grab your orange color. And now we are going to shade in the mid-latitude regions, okay? The mid-latitude regions are everything that's kind of in the middle of the world. So not close to the equator, but not close to the poles either, because we know at the poles it's typically what type of climate.
Oh.
Cold, right? And on the equator, it's hot. So in our mid-latitude, that's going to be everything on this map. That's like the lighter blue, the green, the light green, okay? The yellow is going to be desert, and we're going to do the dry in a little bit. So we're looking at everything that is green or blue. That's what we are about to shade in, okay? So grab your orange. We are going to shade now. Oh, I guess you should see my map. That would help. That would help. Okay, here we go. So in the United States, let's start up in North America. Our mid-latitude zones, I guess, are going to be in here. I need a bigger dog. Okay, everything on the eastern side of the U.S. and up here on the west coast. Yeah, orange. This is our mid-latitude, okay? So pretty temperate. It could include some rain, right? Especially on the coast, those marine west coast environments will typically have more rain. But that's really found in these mid-latitude climates, okay? Down in South America, we have this region at the very bottom, towards the south here. That's pretty temperate climate. Over to Europe, this is going to be pretty much all of Europe, okay? Is going to be this mid-latitude climate.
Iceland's called Iceland.
And Greenland is called Greenland.
It should be off.
Okay, we're going to come over here through these lakes, these seas over here.
Why are they called seas?
There's sea. Black Sea, Caspian Sea.
But they look like giant lakes.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a place that doesn't catch mosquitoes. Yes.
Down here in Africa, we really only have one spot, about right there.
Oh, I would play that right now if I had my phone. If you had your tube.
And up here. That's about it for Africa. There's pretty much extremes in Africa. Okay. Over to Asia, it's going to be India, like part of India. And into Southeast Asia over here. And then up through China.
Oh, Japan too?
Yes, Japan too. Mid-latitude. And then in Australia, the southern parts of Australia. And along the coast here. Also New Zealand.
New Zealand.
Yeah.
What about the Philippines?
Philippines is tropical, so that was red.
Where is that?
Right there. That was the Philippines.
Ah. My mom might go there for her work.
Okay, so next we're going to do our dry region. So if we're looking at our big map over here, our dry regions are going to be everything that is yellow and this weird like tan color. Okay, what is this big tan color where my arrow is? Yeah, which desert? The Sahara, right? So all of this tan color and the surrounding yellow is a dry climate. Yeah, thank you, Trinity. Quit your talking, please. Okay. There's some areas down here that is also dry climates, because you know what's along this west coast of South America? What is that? Mountains, yeah. So there's this effect where basically like the mountains will kind of create this effect where it kind of blocks the rest, like to the eastern side of the mountains, from like getting much precipitation, or rain. So that's why you have this yellow strip right here. It's also why you have this yellow strip up here in the United States too, okay, because there's a mountain region right there too. So that's just part of the reasons. But then like over here you have your big desert area with your dry area. If you're in the Sahara, it's not going to turn from a desert to a rainforest overnight, right? Like you're not like going to step out of the desert straight into a rainforest, right? So that's why you kind of have this buffer zone of dry yellow and then into your tropical of your orange and red right there. Does that make sense? Yeah. So on our maps right now, we're about to label or shade in our dry region. So this yellow-ish stuff right here, yellow, and then the tan, okay? So map, here we go. Grab your yellow. We are going North America first. In North America, we have this region that is kind of dry here. There's a mountain region, so it's kind of there. What?
Have bloody noses every day.
Because it was so dry? Yeah.
We were in a drought. Oh, shoot. I did Mexico, too.
That's okay. It does go down into Mexico some.
Not like I did whole.
That's okay. Okay, this region in South America right there. There's like a strip. Oh, we forgot to shade that other section right there orange. This is all orange.
What about Antarctica?
Sorry, grab your orange again. My bad.
What about Antarctica?
We're going to get to Antarctica. But that's not any of these climates right now.
But it's all desert. It's dry.
But there's another climate type. There's another climate type that we're going to do. Okay, so all of Africa here.
Literally.
Yep, like all of that. And then this spot down here that we haven't done, desert and dry, okay? So all of Africa. Also all of the Middle East in here, the Arabian Peninsula.
Jerusalem.
And a lot into Asia. We're not going to color all the way over into Asia, because there's a lot of highland climates that we're not going to label.
We need to get off. It's like really
And then in Australia, all that is left in Australia is yellow in the middle.
some parts, like a little bit. Like it was 90% like desert and then like.
Wait, she went to prison?
All right, there's our dry regions. We're going to do the high latitude climates now, okay? So this is going to include everything that is purple or this bright blue color or the polka dots that you see. That's like high latitude climates. What does high latitude mean? Latitude is what type of lines?
Latitude is
East-west.
East-west, latitude, latitude, right? So when we're talking about high latitude, what part of the world are we talking about? Or southern, right? Very northern or very southern, okay?
Does that say ice cap?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought.
What'd you say, Andrew?
changed my life by saying Latitude, latitude.
Yeah.
I've never heard that.
Latitude, flatitude. So it's across, okay? So, hey, listen up. High latitude. What's the degrees of the equator? 0. Hey, there's a lot of talking and I am trying to teach. This will be a question that you will see. Okay? Equator is what degrees? 0. Okay? So the farther you get away from the equator, the higher the number, both on the north and to the south. Okay? So when you go to the North Pole or when you go to the South Pole, that is very high latitude, okay? The furthest north you can go, 90 degrees north. The farthest south you can go, 90 degrees south. That's the South Pole, okay? North Pole, South Pole, okay? So when you get further away from the equator, the colder you get, which is just it's called high latitude climates, okay? So that's where it's really cold. So everything on this map that you see that's purple or bright blue, or the polka dots, it kind of looks white up there. That's our high latitudes. Okay, so very, very cold climate. So that's what we're about to do. But we're gonna do yellow like polka dots, or you can do lines like diagonal lines, however you want, whatever kind of pattern you want. That's what we're gonna label on our map right now. So I'm just gonna go dots to show you. Okay, so dots in the northern U.S., northern Canada. Yellow, still yellow. Oh, good Lord.
Can y'all stop it, please?
That's not.
You said dots. I'm losing so much color intensity.
I feel like everybody's doing Morse code or something. There's that one kid that actually knows it.
Okay, so northern parts of Eurasia as well. Man, great soundtrack.
This is what I call insanity.
This is what I call questioning.
And then Antarctica.
Woo!
Wait, where's not your list? That's what I know.
So it is all yellow.
This makes me like a distracted.
Percussion.
Well, that's a problem.
So just to wrap this up, this is all that we're doing with the climates, okay? So on our map, we have most of these regions labeled. The things that we've left kind of blank in like this area, that area, all of that is like mountain regions, okay, or very highland regions. So just think dry mountains, okay, but we're not gonna color those in, okay? So now we are going to talk about biomes. We're gonna go green here, okay? We're going green, so get your green out and let's add it to our scale or our, whatever you wanna call it, our key over here. We're gonna do some different symbols down here, okay? We're gonna have little bitty trees and we're gonna have grass regions. And then we're gonna do some bracket areas. This is all going to be biomes. Biomes are going to kind of be very similar to our climates that we just had, okay? So with biomes, this is what is growing around the world, okay? What types of vegetation is growing in the world, all right? It's going to be very similar to the climates because we know that climate is what can help things grow, right? So the first thing we're going to do is our like tropical or our forest areas, okay? This can include like cold, like forest trees. So think like Christmas trees, right? Those types of trees. But we're also gonna draw our trees where like rainforest would be too. Okay. So we're gonna draw trees really along where you see like the bright green right now. The bright green is where we're going to draw trees, and then the dark green up here, and then across Russia, and then this lighter green in Europe and this part of the U.S. Okay, partly over in China too. Okay, yeah, all the trees, because I couldn't think of another way to differentiate trees, but all you need to know, like trees that grow in the cold, and then rainforest trees, essentially.
So we need to draw
Okay.
5 million trees.
Not 5 million, just like in the general area. You're gonna follow what I do. Okay.
Oh, yeah. I just
Okay.
drew a circle.
Who had their hand up? What's up? Yeah, you're gonna miss out on some of the stuff, but take a pass and go. You have like 5 minutes. Okay, don't be gone forever. Okay, so green, we're going green. I'm gonna start up here in the US. So think really cold trees, right? Our Christmas trees. Oh wait, that's too high. Don't do that one.
If you look at my trees, they definitely don't look like arrows.
And then the eastern part of the United States is also has a lot of trees. And up here in our mid-latitude climate over here.
When I moved to Texas, I was surprised about how much trees there were.
Yeah.
Really?
I like came from New Mexico, which is like a desert.
Well, I'm drawing trees in Colorado and Wyoming right now too. Okay.
Yeah. New Mexico's kind of.
Yeah, New Mexico does not have trees.
Yeah.
Well, they kind of do, just in some areas, but.
Okay. Tropical regions. Tropical regions are gonna have all of these forests, right? What rainforest is in Brazil?
The Amazon.
The Amazon, yeah.
That is currently burning to the ground.
Thank you for making everybody's mood worse. Dang it, we're wasting paper. Sorry.
Oh my gosh. Is that like the master map?
Yeah.
That's insane. How do you even
That's
read
what we're
that?
getting to today. Hopefully. Okay. In Europe, we're going to have lots of trees to the northern part. This region near the Mediterranean is going to be grassland, so don't put any trees down there. Keep it more Central Europe and Northern Europe, okay? And all the way over into Russia.
Was that Jake? Was that Jake? His bike's gonna be like, he's gonna look. He's gonna see his bike.
My trees are getting pretty ugly.
My trees were ugly from the beginning.
Yeah. I just made a tree that looks like broccoli.
Down through China. Japan has some trees.
Well, Japan does also have a suit.
And our tropical regions down here.
I'm just gonna put a few trees because I'm tired of drawing horrible trees.
That's fine.
Japan gets one big tree.
I only put one tree in Japan. But you know what it means.
Yep.
What?
Oh, my trees are so ugly.
And then in Africa, we have trees in our tropical area, right? Our rainforest over here. The eastern side is going to be more grassland.
It's very hard to draw a colored pencil on top of colored pencil.
And Madagascar, pretty tropical.
I remember that movie. It was great.
Next thing we're gonna do is the dry, in our dry regions, what can be grown there?
Grass.
Not even, like in our deserts. Is anything grown in the desert?
Cactus.
No, okay, maybe a cactus, right? But not much is gonna be grown there. Okay?
I remember brown.
So brown, right? Everything is just brown, okay? So look at this map up here. Everything, hey, quit your talking. Everything that is bright yellow, that's what we're going to label right now. I'm just going to do dots because there's nothing really like sand, right? So dots for the bright yellow regions, basically in our desert regions, okay? So over here on my map, we're going to go dots in, let's see. Yeah, dots in Africa. Let's see. Green, still green, because we're thinking about what grows here, okay?
Okay, well,
So,
here we go.
Here we
please
go
don't
again.
get crazy with the dots. Yeah, green dots, because we're talking about what's grown here. So everything that we're doing right now for biomes is green, okay? So this is desert.
Yes, I will draw at least
More dots.
Honestly, now that I'm not doing it, it's more annoying.
Yeah, see? Welcome to my life.
I remember last year when I taught 7th graders at all. It was absolutely horrendous. Remember the solo ensemble unit? Yeah, the ensemble unit was absolutely horrible.
Oh, you're talking about like a music.
Yes. I taught them a song and they wouldn't listen, and I was about to slap all of them at the same
And then Australia.
Yes, I'm gonna slap
Wait, so what is this?
That's a good question. What does this represent? What do our dots represent?
just random green things that are surprisingly growing.
No. Are there green things growing in the desert? No, it's not. I just want you to put, I'm just doing dots so that you can see that that's desert there, okay? There's nothing being grown there. Dots in my mind think sand. Are things being grown in sand? Not much.
Well,
Like cactus, right? Cacti. But I want you to know that when we're like everything in green right now is think green, think vegetation, think what's growing. And so we're doing a few different things. Like we drew our trees. Here we have our dots. Next thing we're going to do is grassland areas, and we're going to draw little grass symbols. Okay. And then for our really cold areas, we're just going to put brackets around the really cold regions because nothing can be grown there at all. Okay, so everything we're doing right now is in green because that's the biomes region. So that's things that are being grown like ecosystem stuff. Okay, does that make sense? Right.
pretty cool, right?
So really, those are our area. There's a lot of grassland. We're going to look at the grassland areas. So everything that is this light yellow color or this orange color, that's what we're gonna draw our grassland as. Okay, so middle of the U.S. here, little bit in Brazil and down through Argentina. This orange in Africa, think like the savannah, right? Think safaris. If you've ever seen people like go on African safaris, that's going to be like grassland, okay? A little bit around the Mediterranean there, and a lot of Asia, okay, is grassland, okay? A lot of stuff can be grown in this region. Grasslands are usually pretty good for growing like crops, okay? And then a little bit into Southeast Asia, India, okay? And then in around Australia. Well, that yellow was desert and there were trees over there, but this like loop around Australia, okay? So whatever symbol you chose for grass, that's what we're gonna do now, okay? So over here we have in our middle of the road, or however you want to say it.
Curvy lines.
My pencil's too fat. Here we go.
Remember those like really
Did
big
you literally
heads?
just?
Yes, that's why.
All right, and then in South America,
It's like when I.
we have some up in the red and down through the orange.
Just. Or you just went. Oh, you just did.
It's
Yeah, we're doing grass.
really hard.
We're really thick-headed.
We have big.
Grasslands, all of our grasslands.
I got a baby. I don't do that. I'm not gonna damage my life.
Because yours is not hard.
Yeah, I bruise
All the way
easily,
through
so.
elementary.
In Europe, we have along the Mediterranean, this is all grass right here. Grassland, good for growing crops along the Mediterranean. Italy, yes, grass in Italy. Think like vineyards, right? Lots of crops that can be grown.
Wine.
Yes. That comes from what? Grapes?
Yes.
Yes, has to be grown. In Africa, think safari here. So there's going to be like a kind of like a buffer zone between the desert and the rainforest that happens.
The only place where you can find jaguars is in
Well, my cousin has. Well, she lived there for like 10 years.
I have cousins in Africa.
I have family members in Africa.
You do?
I have family members all over the world. I can tell you I have Europe things in me.
Well,
I'm African American. I have Native American in me. The only thing I don't have is Mexico.
Okay, in Asia, we have some grasslands that kind of transition through from the desert into things that can be grown.
Map.
Chicken white house.
Just
said bird. You idiot.
I tried.
Oh, that's
Wait, Jesse, aren't you dating someone?
Yeah.
no, not mine.
What's his name?
Hey, I don't care who's dating who because it doesn't sound like you're drawing your grass areas.
I guess not. Oh,
Bad.
never mind.
Bad.
It's just Coach Medlin.
Are you drawing?
Yeah, we're drawing, but they're not actually drawing because they keep running their mouths.
Well, I am.
It's because Riley's the problem.
Is this part that is tundra, the light blue or the white, right? Nothing can be grown in those super cold areas. So far northern Eurasia, Greenland, far northern Canada, and all of Antarctica. What does that line up with that we've already shaded in? High latitude, thank you, Nora. The high latitude climates that you killed my yellow pencils with your dots. Yeah, it's going to correspond with this, okay? So all I'm going to do, I'm not even shading anything in. The only thing I'm going to do here is bracket it, okay? So right there, I know that nothing can be grown, maybe not that much, like northern part right there, okay? I know that nothing can be grown in Greenland. And then our northern part of Eurasia, nothing is grown up there. And then all of Antarctica as well, okay?
Snow.
So just bracket it. Something that we forgot to label the other day was Dallas. I wanted us to put Dallas, the point at Dallas to find our absolute location. Okay, so this was Dallas, and when we're talking about latitude and longitude, remember what hemisphere do we live in?
The northern.
The northern and the western, right? So when we are like trying to plot where Dallas is, it is 32 degrees north, right? Because our lines that run parallel with the equator run like this. Don't draw this, but they run like this. So each one of those lines are degrees north, or they can also go south of the equator, okay? So Dallas just falls on the 32nd one, okay? 32 degrees north. And then west, we are 96 degrees west. Degrees W. Okay, so those lines, those longitude lines also run across the world like this, and we're on the 96th one to the west of the prime meridian. Okay, they also run on that side too. That's to the east of the prime meridian. Okay, so that was one thing that we forgot to label the other day. Some other things that we need to label that we don't really have specific like colors for, I guess. Well, you need to know what erosion is. Did you learn about erosion in 8th grade?
Yeah, I learned
Yeah.
like every year.
Okay, so a little bit every year. So there are some plateaus. What's a plateau?
It's like a flat.
It's like a flat mountain, right? So there's this plateau over here in like China, India. That, let's see, it goes probably like right there. So I'm going to draw that. It's like a flat mountain, right? This is called the Tibet Plateau, P-L-A-T-A-U. The Tibet Plateau, okay? So that really just happens because of erosion, right? Over time, that mountain has kind of flattened out. So a plateau is just a flat mountain. Yes.
Isn't there one that was never touched by man before? Like a plateau.
I have no idea. I've never heard of that.
There's like one.
Look it up and tell me next class. That's cool. Okay, and then another thing that can happen is just because of the movement of water, it can change things. How many of you have been to the Grand Canyon? Anyone been to the Grand Canyon? Jake, you have? Sage, Andrew, Lily, Georgia. Great. Okay, so you've been to the Grand Canyon. Was it like that millions of years ago? Was the Grand Canyon there? No. How was that river flowing?
The water just killed it.
Because water.
Well, yeah, because of water. But what did it look like? Yeah, was it a canyon millions of years ago? No, it wasn't. It was on top of the land, right? And over time, the movement of water, yes, erosion, weathering created that canyon, okay? So that movement of water has changed that. And just the most notable one to us that's easiest to remember is the Grand Canyon, okay? So we are going to draw our little Grand Canyon. It's like over here, something like that. Draw your little Grand Canyon and label it. Also, we should probably put this on our key. What? What do you mean what? We're going to use this for our labels. Longitude, latitude. Oh, wait, no, just kidding. We did that in red. We did continents and oceans, right? And what we just did was landforms. It is, but we're color coding it so you can know what's going on. Next up, you need to grab a brown. All right, we are looking at plate tectonics here. Okay, we're not going to label all of these, but check out all the plates that we have, right? Yeah, there's a bunch. So we're going to start with North America, and we're just going to draw in some of these plates, and then we're going to talk about what type of boundaries we have at these plates that I know that you're familiar with because you learned it last year, okay? So on our map, let's go North America first. So our North American plate is going to go up along Alaska, down the coast. It cuts through right below Mexico. Curves around the Caribbean. To the middle.
Once upon a
It
time,
is a big plate
Australia was
up through the top.
part of
Isn't that like something off people plates in like California?
Yeah, we'll talk about it in a second. Yeah, we'll talk about it in a little bit. Let's get our plates first. Okay, we have the Caribbean plate, which is this small one right here.
Oh,
Let's do the South America one. That's pretty easy. It goes down along South America on the west coast through to the middle of the ocean and pretty much just up like that. Okay?
They all connect.
Yes, they do. All of the plates will connect. The world is broken up into a bunch of plates.
I can recite.
Okay, this one kind of goes down to the bottom part, but then it splits. So there's like two kind of. This is one, and then this is one.
I've kind of like imagined just listening to
I want to sleep right now.
like falling asleep to it.
All right, the Pacific plate. What do you know about the Pacific plate?
It's massive.
Yeah, it is massive. It goes with under the Pacific Ocean, right? So we're gonna draw it off to the side over here. So all of this area is the Pacific plate. Okay. What do you know about the outskirts of it? The ring. The ring of fire. What's the ring of fire?
It's a ring of
It's a ring of
Volcanoes, right?
Yep.
Yeah, we're gonna draw it in a second. Okay, let's get our other ones. Let's do Africa. It's huge. Africa is gonna go through the Mediterranean right there,
that country has its own. Me and Jesse said
and along Saudi Arabia.
I have.
Don't ask.
I told you. He told me that.
Africa is a big one.
It would become very popular.
They don't trust me.
We have the Arabian plate.
To be honest, I told them that. And they were like, well,
All I have to say is it was just like
it's like, let's make this quesadillas.
yeah.
I think it must
The Indian plate.
have tasted horrible.
I am my own plate.
Who's your own plate?
I am.
Me too. I'm the giant African one.
The Americans.
The Australian plate.
Used to be part of Antarctica.
Did it?
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it detached.
Pangea.
Not even during Pangea. It was just during like a certain time.
Okay, and then it's gonna come down around here.
That's a big plate.
It is.
Australia gets its own plate area.
Even though it's like the tiniest.
Not really.
I don't think it's this one.
This one is the Philippine plate.
Ooh, Philippines.
Something that tiny gets its own plate.
Isn't Japan part of that plate?
No.
No?
Nope.
Then why does Japan get some? Oh.
Japan. Okay, let's finish this line up here. So that's gonna go off. All of this is,
Part of the ring of.
yes, part of the Ring of Fire. Okay.
Don't you
Now,
love-
the one that we didn't really label, but it's there. Look at this huge plate.
Eurasia.
Yes, it is Eurasia. All of that right there is Eurasia. Okay, you're not coloring it, but I just want you to see how big that plate is. It spans from Europe all the way over to Japan. Okay, and down to Indonesia and those islands. Okay, that's a huge plate. It's not tiny, it's massive. Okay.
This map is so
All right. Those are our plates, but we need to talk about what types of boundaries we have. What do you know about convergent boundaries? They collide.
Convergent divides.
That's why we
Yes,
have the
so
Himalayas.
when we collide, yes, you're gonna have mountains, right? What's a big mountain range right here?
The Himalayas.
The Himalayas. Let's draw it. This is when plates collide. Draw your arrows. Hint, hint. You're gonna want to know this. Here's my mountain range. Here's my mountain range. This is the Himalayas. Okay, Himalayas. So my arrows show when the plates collide, they're gonna form mountain ranges, right?
You know the Hawaiian mountains are bigger than the Himalayas, taller.
Divergent. What does divergent mean?
They divide. Valley.
They divide, so they make a valley, right? Have you ever seen Finding Nemo?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you remember the Mariana Trench?
Yes.
Yeah.
Holy.
That happens. The Mariana Trench is right here on this Philippine plate. Okay. So when the plates go apart from each other, right here, the Philippine plate and the Pacific plate, you have this trench that can form, right? The Mariana Trench. So I'm gonna attempt to draw a trench. There's my trench. Okay. You can see it. This is the Mariana Trench.
Did you know Nemo means nobody? So that means it's
Mariana Trench. So when the plates pull apart, that's what happens.
Wait, so how do
You can have where the seafloor spreads. What?
How do you know when they like, I don't know what I'm trying to say. Never mind.
What do you mean?
Like when they divide or collide, like how do you know?
So that is what's gonna form at these spots. So like when the Indian plate combined with the Eurasian plate, one either goes under or they both come together, and you're gonna have a mountain. Okay. With a trench, that means that they're pulling apart from each other, and you have this trench that is made.
On test,
Yes, a mountain range is gonna happen because it's convergent. Okay. Yeah. Trenches, volcanoes. Volcanoes also happen. Let's draw our volcanoes around the edge here. Here's my volcano. You also have, so these volcanoes are gonna happen. Oh man, that's an ugly volcano. Sorry. Those are our volcanoes. This is our ring of fire.
That'd be like a beautiful video, just him saying that.
And then also on this side over here, we have our ring of fire.
Oh, now I know why Pompeii. Oh my God.
Okay.
Pompeii has a boundary on it, like near it.
Oh yeah, that must be. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Okay. The last one, the last type is what, Sage? You talked about it earlier.
Transform.
Cool. Thank you, Sage.
Your name's not safe.
the California thing.
Yes, the California thing. It is what type of boundaries, Josiah?
Transform.
It is transform, okay? So over here, this is when the plates will slide past each other.
San Andreas.
Yes, we have the San Andreas Fault.
That is a horrible place to live.
Okay?
That's why.
San Andreas Fault.
Seen the video of like the recreation of the San Andreas.
So one day they just split.
Yeah, they can ran.
So earthquakes will happen there when these plates might push apart or push opposite directions. You'll have earthquakes that happen in the ocean or over there in California. Okay?
So does that mean what if the San Andreas fault just like shifts too much one day? Does that mean everything will just?
Well, that's what people say. I doubt it will really happen like that. But those plates are moving across, or like moving next to each other.
Direction
I'm not sure actually.
Because I heard one
I don't
is, like,
know the
more
direction.
dangerous than the other way.
I don't know the answer to that.
It's like maybe them.
And see, what will happen eventually is like if this one is sliding down and this one is sliding
Okay.
up, they'll get stuck.
Next thing, yes, okay, we're finally getting to water. Grab your blue. Blue, blue, blue. Okay, check it out. We're gonna do water, but we're doing different currents. So we have warm currents and cold currents, but we're gonna keep it with blue. We're gonna make, draw like a fat arrow, and that's gonna be our warm currents. And a skinny arrow is gonna be a cool current.
Vegan.
So a fat arrow versus a skinny arrow. Something you need to know, water, currents, everything with the water in our world is known as the hydrosphere. Hydro means water. Hydrosphere is water, okay? Everything that refers to water. You did? Great, okay, so that's a review. In with our water currents in our oceans, everything in the northern hemisphere, watch my screen, the currents are gonna flow like this, okay? Everything in the southern hemisphere is the opposite direction. Yes, counterclockwise, okay? So, let's start in the northern hemisphere, okay? The Atlantic Ocean. Warm currents are going to come from the equator, right? Because that's where things are warm. So we're going to draw a fat arrow going that way.
And that's why the Gulf of Mexico
Is warm, yes, because it's also going to split off this way. It is a fat arrow. It's an attempt at a fat arrow. Dang it, I didn't record that. Okay, I have to say that again. So warm currents are going from the equator up to the northern part, okay, of North America. It's going to flow across the Atlantic.
Isn't that why Iceland and like Europe is so
warm? Yes, compared to like Canada, because there's a cool current that comes down from right there. But when it goes across the Atlantic like that, that's a warm current. So that's why like Europe's temperatures are milder. It's warmer. Yeah, it gets hot there. Not as like not Texas hot, but it gets hot there.
No, recently it's been having like the highest records they've had.
Oh, really?
France and
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, so then when it comes down the coast from Spain to Africa, that's a cold current, okay? So that's why it's pretty dry. That's part of the reason why it's dry right there in Africa, because that's a cool current.
Because it gets cold up there and then comes back down. And it's like, I need a blanket now.
So south of the equator, our arrows are gonna go backwards, okay, or like counterclockwise. Our warm current is gonna come from Africa to South America.
That's why the Congo's there.
Okay, come down the coast. And across.
My best friend is my brother.
And then a cool current up the coast of Africa, which again is why we have this desert right here, because that's a cool current. It's a bad arrow.
I thought the original Halloween movie was kind of
Let's go Pacific Ocean next. Northern Hemisphere. We have a warm current that comes across this way.
Oh, never mind.
What do you mean how?
I was about to ask how is it warm?
A cool current is going to come down across the coast of the U.S. And then it's going to turn warm again.
out of mysteriously nowhere.
Well, no, because think about it. You're closer to the equator down there, so that's going to be warmer. It's going to come across.
And then it comes to the other side.
It does come to the other side, so go over to the right side of your paper.
Right side?
Yes, the eastern side, because the Pacific Ocean also touches over here too, right?
So technically,
So our warm current is coming from like Japan across that way. Warm current.
yes, that is.
Hey, if I come look at your maps over there, you're gonna have what I have?
Yep.
Yeah? Okay.
The Earth is
And then also warm currents coming this way.
Okay.
Oh no, my
it's on a
trench.
sort of shell, so it's not. We can't save the ocean because it's saving us. Like,
Cool currents are gonna come down this way. Cool currents coming from the poles. And then they kind of feed into the warm currents.
don't you just love this thing?
Map is a mess.
This looks better than mine.
Just color. Everything's in color. So if you see a question that's about currents, we're looking at blue stuff.
Ah,
Use this whenever we're like.
blue.
Yes, you will be able to use this on your quiz and your test next week.
Star test.
Okay? Let's do the southern part really quick. I'm going to make another Nemo connection here, okay? So opposite, warm currents are coming across this way. So opposite of the northern hemisphere.
Just keep swimming. Just
Ready for your mind to be blown?
Is that why the coral reef is there?
This is the EAC. EAC, dude, remember?
Yeah, they.
This is the EAC. The Eastern Australian Current. That's a warm current. And then it goes down that way.
My dog's name is Nemo. My dog's name is Nobody.
Yep.
I'm gonna name my child Nemo.
Because the word Nemo means nobody.
All right. Let's do it on the western part of our map, the left side of our map. These currents, so the cold current for the southern part is coming up from South America like that. That's the cold current, okay? And then it turns to warm
Because it's
here.
the equator.
Yes, because of the equator.
I hate counting down the last time in school because then it goes slower.
Yeah.
Just like when you read.
Well, it's not for me. Not for me. That's 3 minutes.
Okay?
Ready?
Okay, so the Indian Ocean, zoom in, or I guess I'm zooming in, find the Indian Ocean. Up near India, in the northern hemisphere, it goes to the left, okay? And it curves around up here. It looks a little weird because it's a smaller ocean, I guess, right there, like in the northern half. But south of the equator, it's more spread out. So remember, south of the equator,
Wait, where are we?
Indian Ocean,
Oh.
Indian Ocean. Okay, so warm current is pushing from Australia over to the west. It's gonna come down the coast of Africa. And then the cold current is coming up near Australia, okay? Okay, notice that where you have these cool currents coming, you also have dry regions next to that, right? So look, we have yellow there. That's dry. Don't circle it. Over here in Africa, you have a dry, cool current and a dry desert right there, dry climate. And in the north, you have a cool current and dry climate right there. Do you see how those are all connected? So when you have cool currents, you're going to have dry climates, okay? Like your desert areas. Okay, does that make sense? It's all correlated. So when you have warmer currents, you're gonna have more like rain and changing temperature, like you do up here from the U.S. over to Europe. Okay, does that make sense? It is connected. All right. So those are our currents, our water currents for that. Oh, we need to do some cool currents. There are cool currents all the way across the bottom of our map. That way. Okay, all of that is cool.
That's a lot of cool.
We're going, I'm going purple here.
What's the wind?
Add it to, I'm just gonna do more arrows, but just a different color.
They're gonna be big and small.
No, just the same. We're not getting that fancy here. Okay, so if we look back over at our, is this the one that I want? Yeah, here we go. Here's our big patterns of wind, okay? So from our pole regions, we have wind that's coming down from the poles, okay, from both parts of the poles. In our mid-latitude, they're kind of going different directions. Within our tropics, they're going to be pushing towards the equator, okay? So they're kind of like meeting together, whereas in our mid-latitudes up here, it's going opposite, okay? You see that? So we're just going to kind of briefly draw these arrows on our map, okay? So let's start in the north. From our pole region, we have arrows that are going to point south, I guess, from the North Pole. In our mid-latitude in the north, our wind patterns are going to go this way. I know, it is crazy, but you have your key. Wind pattern going that way. Wind pattern going that way. Then going towards the equator, you have those. Going towards the equator, opposite of the lines that we just drew.
And then it's going to be reversed.
Yep, and then reversed in the southern hemisphere. Why is it confusing?
It's gonna make the map look a lot worse.
But you have a key, so you'll be able to tell.
I agree. Thank you, Trinity. That's why I told you to draw your key. So hopefully it will help. Finish? Great. Did you finish your wind currents on your map from earlier? Okay, cool. Plug that in. Work on your vocab matrix.
Okay.
Yeah, do you have that?
I
Okay, and then in the other mid-latitude, now we're going away. And then you have arrows from the poles going up, or to the north, I guess. Okay, here we are.